Hey chess enthusiasts, Francis here again. Today we are going to discuss our Sicilian SCHEVENINGEN English attack, part 2. And here we are going to discuss move number 8, the queen to d2 move. So our variation is e4, c5, knight to f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, e6, bishop to e3, e6, f3, b5. And here in part 1 of our video we discussed about the move g4. Now we are going to discuss what black should do if white plays queen to d2. So reply to queen to d2, we have so many choices, but I'm advocating knight b d7. So after knight b d7, white may reply with g4. While knight to b6 is a good reply to g4. I'm choosing h6 as our response. So after h6, we have three choices for white. h4, castling queenside, and a3. Let's discuss first h4. After h4, our main response is b4. And white may go to knight c to e2 or to the a4 square. If it goes to the e2 square, our response is an immediate d5. We're immediately trying to break in the center, d5, and after bishop to h3, we have this move d takes e4. After g5, we have knight to d5, eyeing the bishop, and after f takes e4, we have knight takes e3. After queen takes e3, h takes g5, and after h takes g5, we have bishop to e7. Black has three major response. White has three major response. g6, yeah, bishop to h4. I mean, check. And after king to d1, we have knight to e5. After g takes f7, we have knight takes f7. After e5, bishop to g5, queen to e4, rook to b8, queen to g6. Here, we cannot immediately castle because our a6 pawn is hanging. So, we should play bishop to e3. After king to e1, we have this good move, bishop takes d4. After rook to d1, white is trying to pin our queen. We have this rook to h6 move. White cannot take our pawn because we have queen to h4 check, and white is mated next move. So white will go to queen to g4, and we have knight takes e5. After queen rook takes d4, we have knight takes g4. So the queen is actually hanging. If white takes with the queen, we have this nice fork, knight to f3 check. So here, if instead of the pawn push, white plays knight to f3, we have knight to f8, eyeing the g6 square. After e5, we have bishop to b7. After rook to d1, we simply have queen to a5, and this is very good for black. Here, if white plays rook to g1, we have an immediate bishop takes g5. After rook takes g5, we have rook takes h3. The resulting exchange was good for black. After triple castle, we have bishop to b7. If white plays knight e to d4, we have an e5. So this is bad for white. So white should play knight e to g1. But here we have rook to h1. Nice move. And after queen to d2, we simply have rook to d8. After queen takes b4, we have queen to f4. After queen to d2, we have queen takes d2. And after knight takes d2, we have g6, e5, king to e7. And after knight c4, we have bishop to d5. Black cannot play, white cannot play knight to d6 because the knight will hang. So we'll probably go knight to e3, but after bishop to c6, black is fine. So play may continue. Knight to c4, rook d to h8, knight to d6, rook a to h5, knight to c8, and after king to d8, we have rook takes h5. After rook takes h5, we have knight to b6. After rook takes e5, black is winning the endgame. Let's go back to move 11. Instead of knight c to e2, white may play knight to a4 after our b4 move. So our response is an immediate d5. Here, white has 3 responses. If white plays bishop to h3, we have this. After bishop to h3, we have d takes e4. And after g5, knight to d5. After g6, our response is knight to e5. And after g takes f7, we have king takes f7. After f takes e4, we have our queen takes h4, check on the king. And after king to f2, we have queen takes f2. So bishop takes f2, we have knight f4, which is good for black. If white castles, we have d takes e4, bishop to g2, knight d5, f takes e4, knight takes e3. And after queen takes e3, queen to a5 is bad because of e5. If the queen takes, if the rook moves, we have this fork, knight to c6, and after queen takes a4, we have knight takes b8. After queen takes a2, we have knight takes d7, and after bishop takes d7. White is very fine here, and he can escape mate. So queen to a5 is bad. Black should play bishop to b7, and Black is fine here. So here, if white takes the pawn on d5, we have knight takes d5, and after bishop to c4, we have bishop b7, and after triple castle, we have queen to c7. If white takes our knight, bishop takes d5, we have bishop takes d5. After rook h2 e1, we have knight to c5, and after knight takes c5, we have bishop takes c5. After knight to f5, simply have triple castle. And if white takes our pawn, that is bad because we have bishop takes f3. We have a discovered attack. If bishop takes c5, we have queen takes c5. After queen to e3, we have queen takes e3. After knight takes e3. We should not take the pawn because here white can first attack our pawns on our second or our 7th rank. After rook takes d8, we have rook takes d8. And after rook to f1, our c7 pawn is pinned. If the bishop moves, we have rook takes f7, and our g pawn is hanging. So here the best move is rook bishop to c6, and if we get lucky, white may play knight to c4. In here, we take the rook on d1, and after rook takes d1, we have bishop takes f3. If he attacks our bishop, we have this double attack, bishop to e2, and black here is winning. Here, if white retreats his bishop to b3, we have triple castle, and black is fine here. Now let's go back to the beginning of the variation. So after the series of moves, if white does not play h4 but instead triple castle, we have bishop b2 b7, and after a3 we have rook to c8, and after h4 we have d5. Here, if white was bishop to h3, we will have a forcing line b4, and after a takes b4, bishop takes b4. Here g5, we have b takes c3. After b takes c3, knight to e5. And after g takes f6, we have knight to c4. After f takes g7, we have rook to g8. After queen to e2, we have queen to a5. Here, we are not attempting to mate white. We should settle for a draw. After king to b1, we have knight to a3. After king to c1, knight to c4. After king to b1, we have knight to a3. So, this is a perpetual Here, if white does not play bishop to h3, but instead plays bishop to d3, we have b4. After a takes b4, we have bishop takes b4. After g5, we have knight to h5. If white plays g takes h6, we have g6, and after knight b3, simply castle, and black is fine here. If white pushes his pawn, we have castle, and after g takes f7, we have rook takes f7, and after knight takes e6, we have queen to a5, and this is winning for black. Let's go back to the beginning of our variation. If white does not move h4 nor triple castles, but instead plays a prophylactic move a3, we have bishop to b7. After triple castle, we have rook to c8. Here, white has three choices. If he plays h4, we have an immediate break d5, and after bishop to h3, we have b4, a takes b4. Again, we're going to play for a draw here. So in this position, if white plays bishop to h3, we are going to make forcing 9, involving a draw. If white plays bishop to d3, we have knight to e5. Consider d5 premature because of the following move. So if we push d5, our g6 square can become weak. Here, if we push b4, this is playable, but this tends to favor white. So I recommend here knight to e5, and after g5, we have h takes d5, and after bishop takes g5, we have b4, and after a takes b4, we have d5. If e takes d5, we have bishop takes b4. If I place queen to f4, we have this nice move, bishop to d6, and after queen to e3, we have a rook sacrifice, rook takes c3, and after b takes c3, we have bishop takes d5, which is very good for black. So here, white might take our pawn on e6, but after bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, queen to a5. This is good for black. White may make a mistake of playing e takes f7. After king takes f7, if white plays knight to b3, we have queen to a3. After knight to d5, we have, after king to b1, we have knight to d5, and after c4, we have knight takes c4, and after b takes c4, we have rook takes c4. We are now threatening knight to f6. Here white cannot play queen to 4, because we have a fine move knight to f6. That is the difference. First, we discuss king to b2. After knight takes king to b2, we have knight takes f3. We have knight takes f3. After knight takes f3, we have bishop takes f3. This is fine for black. Here, white should not take the pawn on f7, but should play knight to b3. So after queen to a3, king to b1, we have knight to d5. And after c4, black should not take the pawn on c4. Knight takes c4 because white has this move, queen to a5. After knight to c3, white will simply sacrifice his queen so that he will have a mating attack on d8. So here the correct move is knight takes f3, and after queen to a5, we have queen takes a5. After knight takes a5, we have knight to c3 with a double attack. After king to c1, we take the rook. After knight takes b7, we have knight takes g5. After knight to d6, we have king to e7. After knight takes c8, we have rook to c8. And after king takes d1. Black seems to have a better endgame. Here, if white plays b5, we simply have bishop to b4, and after b takes a6, we have b takes c3. After b takes c3, we have queen to e5. If I place knight to b3, simply have queen to a3, and after king to b1, we have bishop takes e6, which is very fine for black. After king to b2, we have queen to b6. After knight to b3, we have bishop takes a6, which is also very fine for black. So here, if white does not play h4 or bishop to d3, and instead tries to move his king to safety, moving king to b1, we have d5. After e takes d5, we have knight takes d5, and after knight takes d5, we have bishop takes d5. After h4, we simply have queen to c7. If white plays g5, we simply take the pawn, h takes d5, and after bishop takes g5, we have bc5, and after knight to f5, we have f6. And here, the pawn is immune. The pawn on g7, because after knight takes g7, we have king to f7. If white plays bishop to d3, we have queen to b7, and after g5, we have b4, and after a4, we have knight to c5. After g6, we have the following move: knight takes a4. After g takes f7, we have king takes f7. After rook d to g1, we have knight to c3. King to a1 is bad because it results to mate. So white will play king to c1. But after knight to a2, king to d1, e5, knight to e2, bishop takes f3. to h3, king to g8, rook takes f3, we have queen takes f3. After bishop takes a6, we simply have rook to c7, which is good for black. So white might play king to g8, but we have here e4, and after rook takes f3, we have e takes d3. If rook takes f8, we simply have rook takes f8. If the queen takes, we have rook to h7, and after knight to f4, we have queen to f3 check, which is resulting position is good for black. So here, after c takes d3, we simply have rook to f7, and after bishop to d4, we have king to h7, and after queen to e3, we have rook to c8. Black has good position here. So that's it, guys. This is our discussion with the move queen to d2. So I hope you win mini blitz games. Thank you. See you again next time.